All television and radio stations in the United States will now cease their regular programming.
As star attraction at Davos in Switzerland, Chinese leader Xi Jinping pushes globalization mantra. 3,000 chief executives and politicians are meeting in the Swiss resort town to weigh matters such as climate change and income inequality, but also the discontent seeping across continents. A World Economic Forum report on global risks, which came out in the lead-up to Davos, warned of diminishing public trust in institutions and the difficult task of rebuilding it. But it was the son of a Chinese revolutionary, fervent nationalist, and leader of a communist nation, Red China, who led the opening session and called for global cooperation. And again, global inequality is one of their main talking points at Davos this year. What does that mean? If there's global inequality, then they want global equity, which means everyone is the same, just like in Red China. So they want a global communistic system. That's what they're formulating, but there will be no one world political system until the woe of the fifth trumpet. It has the mouth like the mouth of a lion, which is symbolic of the Christian nations and their diplomacy, the feet like the feet of a bear, meaning it's communistic in nature, and it's likened to a leopard. That's the Kenites and their four hidden dynasties, the infrastructure of the one world political system that emerges at the woe of the fifth trumpet whenever Satan and his angels are cast from heaven unto the earth, and that's when that one world political system emerges. It has the mouth like the mouth of a lion, that's the Christian nations, feet like the feet of a bear, that's the communistic nations, Russia, who are still communistic. Look at their parliament building. Look at the hammer and sickle. Does that look like a non-communist nation to you? And they created Red China whenever they were the Soviet Union. So think about it. It's the formulation of the bear of Revelation 13, which is the same confederacy that you can read of in Ezekiel 38, and it includes Iran as well. It also includes Turkey, which is Gomer in Ezekiel 38. So that's formulating now, but it will not come into existence until the woe of the fifth trumpet, because that's the bear of Daniel chapter 7 and Revelation chapter 13. The lion is the Christian nations, Ephraim, Judah, and Manasseh, which are symbolic of all of the Christian nations. That includes all 12 tribes. In other news, Ukraine sues Russia at UN High Court, and the UN, in my opinion, is the horn of the he-goat of Daniel chapter 8. The he-goat being that Kenite nation. The capri fig, the goat fig, is the evil fig tree, which is symbolic of that Kenite nation, the shadow government. But that horn is broken, the UN that is to say, the one who sends out a raiser of taxes, speaking of the global carbon tax, that's broken, so to speak, and replaced by the actual one world political system, with the United Nations providing the skeletal structure for it, just as the League of Nations provided the skeletal structure for the United Nations. They're the he-goat now, the shadow government, the Kenites and their four hidden dynasties, but at the woe of the fifth trumpet, they become the leopard. It's very simple. It's not hard to understand. Lavrov pours scorn on U.S. intelligence claims of Russian cyber attacks. That's from Euronews. Syria rebel factions to attend Russia-Turkey-backed talks. Again, Turkey is in Ezekiel 38 as well as Russia. Russia is the leader, Gog, and Turkey is Gomer in Ezekiel 38. That's formulating now. That's why you see this alliance forming between Turkey and Russia, as well as Iran. Evidence of bizarre Trump-Russia ties continues to ooze out. And again, Russia is still a communist nation. They're crypto-communists at this point. No one realizes that they're still communistic, but not only do they have a hammer and sickle on the front of their parliament building, but if you go to the website of their parliament, the Duma as it's called, you'll see that 1/4 of the makeup of their government is the Communist Party of the Russian Federation. There's the hammer and sickle again. Case closed. Islamic State surrounds military airport in eastern Syria, and here's a military situation map From Iraq, an Iraqi map update from southfront.org, Iraq was the Babylon of old, where Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom was, a type of Antichrist, but the Babylon of the end times is the state of confusion that the world goes into at the woe of the sixth trumpet, whenever Satan appears as the false Christ. They're going to think that Jesus has returned and worship the devil thinking that he's Jesus. It doesn't get more confused than that. And that's when most Christians go from being the virgin bride of Christ to the whore of Babylon. Again, Babylon means confusion. They'll begin to worship the devil at that time. Chinese army to take new look by end of 2017. There's Red China again. Here's another Davos article. Chinese President Xi and Trump advisor Anthony Scaramucci speak. Beware the two-state solution. Tomorrow will look different, and tomorrow is very close, said Netanyahu in response to the just concluded Paris conference on Middle East peace. Here's some articles about the plan to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, and there's also a plan to make Jerusalem the capital of Kenite-occupied Israel, and that's where Satan shall appear at the sixth seal, the sixth trumpet, and the sixth vial, so you want to keep an eye on that. UK and USA, which is Ephraim and Manasseh, are weak. Angela Merkel calls for German-led EU army to defend Europe, and Germany is Judah, of course. Ephraim, Judah, and Manasseh being those three that are plucked up by the roots in Daniel chapter 7 after Satan appears. The little horn in Daniel chapter 7 is Satan's role of Antichrist, and it comes from that fourth beast, which is strictly supernatural. Recent developments surrounding the South China Sea, that's off of military.com. U.S. Army deploys 3rd ABCT troop to Poland. And if you want to keep an eye on the Trilateral Commission, the globalist think tank that was created by David Rockefeller and Zbigniew Brzezinski, this link keeps up with the Trilateral Commission members in the news. State of emergency declared in the Gambia. Trump represents last great hope for globalism. Advisor Anthony Scaramucci says at Davos, Donald Trump is committed to globalization, Davos told. You might want to read that article if you don't understand what's really going on yet. Israeli-Palestinian conflict, summit warns against unilateral actions, BBC News. Follow the money of the deep state. Like any other criminal enterprise, there's always a leader. We know that from Jeremiah 35, don't we? Or series of leaders. This is the essence of the RICO laws, i.e. the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization Act. And if you want to read the rest of that article, it's on moderndiplomacy.eu. U.S. ambassadors in Asia make final plea for dead Trans-Pacific Trade Pact, and they'll just rename it and come out with the exact same treaty, just like they did with the Federal Reserve. Who's going to read through the entire treaty? Did you see how long that thing was? How many people have even read it at this point, even though it's been available for quite some time now? BRICS grows steady, but Brazil falters. There's Russia and China again. India starts negotiations with Eurasian Economic Union to establish free trade area. So again, we're not in a one-world system yet. There will be no one-world political system until the woe of the fifth trumpet, whenever Satan and his angels are cast from heaven unto the earth. They're Daniel's fourth beast of Daniel chapter 7. And then those four beasts rise up from the sea, because 4 is the number of earth in biblical numerics, meaning it's a global government, a one-world political system made up of the lion, which is symbolic of the Christian nations, the bear, which is made up of the communistic as well as the Islamic nations, as we know from Ezekiel 38. Remember that Esau married one of the daughters of Ishmael all the way back in the book of Genesis. That's where that began a long time ago. And then you have the infrastructure of the one world system, the leopard, the Kenites, and their 4 hidden dynasties. Right now they're the he-goat, and the UN is the horn of the he-goat, in my opinion, as you can see for yourself in Daniel chapter 8. They don't become the leopard until the woe of the fifth trumpet. They're the he-goat now, and their 4 hidden dynasties are up and running, obviously. Education, economics, politics, and religion. But they don't become the leopard until the woe of the fifth trumpet. So the lion, the bear, the leopard, and last but not least, Daniel's fourth beast. That's why we're not in a one world system yet, because it has 10 horns. And the only time you see 10 horns, which are 10 kings written of in our Father's Word, is in Daniel 7, and they're part of Daniel's fourth beast, so they're supernatural. And as we know from Revelation 17, they reign 1 hour with the beast, the hour of temptation. Whenever this one-world political system receives a deadly wound, which is the 5th vial of Revelation chapter 16, it's then and only then that Satan shall appear in Jerusalem at the 6th seal, the 6th trumpet, and the 6th vial. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, immediately after the hour of temptation, at the woe of the 7th trumpet, the true Christ shall return as King of kings and Lord of lords, and as Christ said in the last verse of Mark chapter 13, what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch.
It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with.
A new world order.
It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear.
This country is going to go to a level that it's never been before. I mean that.
By the planners of the New World Order.
It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with.
A new world order.
It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear.
This country is going to go to a level that it's never been before. I mean that.
By the planners of the New World Order.